Sharon M. Atkinson here, MacGyver of Design. Today is Thursday, November 20th, 2025. The time now is 4:45 p.m. This will be the 145 content video that I'm going to insert in my 46 playlist, Mind'sEyeFaith. This will be part 22 in the series, What Does Jehovah God Want for Jesus, aka Michael? The theme scriptures are Genesis 3:15 and Galatians 3:16. Let's begin. And I shall put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He will bruise you in the head, and you will bruise him in the heel. That is Genesis 3:15, followed by Galatians 3:16. Now the promises were spoken to Abraham and to his seed. It says not, and to seeds, as in the case of many such, but as in the case of one, and to your seed, who is Christ. Let's continue with the explanation of the royals in heaven, kings and royals and nobles in heaven, in addition to the Almighty, Jehovah God. And in addition to Jehovah's anointed one, whom he has made king, appointed king, anointed king, Jesus Christ. Jehovah God himself says he's a king, a great king, and he will be honored. So we established, at least the Bible established, that the 24 elders also have crowns, and they are not from the earth. The ones from the earth were taken from the earth and also made kings had harps, but they did not have the crown. Who are the nobles? Let's read. Let's read Revelation. Revelation chapter 4. It tells us something here in verse 4. And round about the throne there were 24 thrones, and upon these thrones I saw seated 24 elders dressed in white outer garments, and upon their heads golden crown. We established that already. And it goes on to say in verse 6, and before the throne there is as it were a glassy sea like crystal. And in the midst of the throne and around the throne there are 4 living creatures that are full of eyes in front and behind. Who are these 4 living creatures? They're stationed very high next to Jehovah. Let's figure that out. Let's move on to Ezekiel chapter 1, where it mentions the 4 living creatures again in verse 5. And out of the midst of there was the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was how they looked, and they had likeness of earthly men. It goes on about their description, not just earthly men, but it goes on to describe 3 other featured faces that they have, but that's another study. Let's move on to Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 22. And over the heads of the living creatures there are the likeness of an expanse, like the sparkle of awesome ice stretched out over their heads up above. So that glassy sea-like expanse that the scripture spoke of in Revelation 4, in saying, and before the throne there is, as it were, a glassy sea-like crystal, that's above their heads. The 4 living creatures. Who are the 4 living creatures? This is only a representative, just a fraction of what we know are the 4 living creatures. You might as well call it the office of the 4 living creatures, because it's not just 4. Here, the Bible explains to us who they are. Let's turn to Psalm 18, verse... Let's turn to verse 10. And he came riding upon the cherubs, and came flying, and he came darting upon the wings of a spirit. Who is that? Verse 1 in verse 18 tells us, and I shall have affection for you, O Jehovah, my strength. Then it describes Jehovah God, his activity and his awesomeness, and describes his power. And one of his factor around him is that he has cherubs attending to him. Isn't it a shame that we put cherubs in loincloths like Cupid, and we turn Jesus Christ into a martyr when he's much more?